if you were a playoff team or on a playoff team, not Thunder or Wolves, just on a playoff team, who would you rather have on your team as the best player? Shai Gilegeous-Alexander or Anthony Edwards?
So this one was really close for me, to be honest. I went back and forth after looking at both of these guys, but by the end of it, Shai Gilegeous-Alexander ended up being my answer. I don't think this series is going any less than 6. So when I look at how Anthony Edwards has done in series that have gone 6 or more games, you got to go back to last year because their first 2 series this year, they beat a banged up Golden State Warriors team without Steph in 5. And in the first round, they beat the Lakers in 5 as well. So to go to a series that I would find to be comparable to this, you got to go back to last year in the Western Conference semifinals when they went and played against the Denver Nuggets. Now, in that series specifically, there in game 6 and game 7, Anthony Edwards was subpar, especially in game 7. Even though they won 98-90, he only had 16 points in that game. He was 6 of 24 from the field, and he was 1 of 8 from the field in the fourth quarter. So in must-win games and big moments in series that go longer than 6 games, Anthony Edwards has been inconsistent in his play. In game 6, I think he had 28 points. He played pretty well, but then in game 7, he kind of was a disappearing act. Then you go into the next series where they went into the Western Conference Finals, played the Dallas Mavericks. They lost 4-1 in that series, and Anthony Edwards was not good in that series either. Now, I know that was not a 6 or 7 game series, but that's the most recent series that we've seen that he's lost. His points per game were 19, 21, and 26. Julius Randle and him have kind of been battling as to who is the best player in some of these games. I mean, Julius Randle has outscored him in a number of games over the last two series, and has also been pretty impactful in closeout games, but also games on the road for the Wolves. Anthony Edwards is having a slightly subpar year this year in the playoffs than he did last year, but it's more about what Shai Gilegeous-Alexander is doing. And this season, he's averaging 29, 6, and 6 these playoffs. And there's 2 big moments in these playoffs that I looked at that to me were big reasons why I'm picking Shai Gilegeous-Alexander. This year in game 7, Shai against the Denver Nuggets in a must-win game had 35, 3, and 4 with 3 steals, and he shot 63% from the field. In that must-win game, Shai Gilegeous-Alexander far surpassed the play of Anthony Edwards when his team needed him the most. And especially coming off of just announced the MVP award, he finally has that weight off of his shoulders. And now they're on the precipice of being able to do something that hasn't been done since Kevin Durant was there, and that's get them back to the finals. And I think when you look at what Shai has done all season, Cam, and you look at what he's done throughout these playoffs and who directly he's had to go through to get to where they're at, to me, I just see Shai Gilegeous-Alexander is a leader and in such an impactful player on both ends of the court for his team that it just kind of gave him the edge in that must-win game in that similar scenario with the same exact situation last year to this year. It just kind of gave him that edge for me.
So that's a good argument. I mean, a lot of that is who's the better player, and I don't think. I mean, I'm certainly not going to argue that the reigning NBA MVP is going to be not as good as Anthony Edwards. Clearly, I think SGA is the better player and a top 3 player at the very least in the NBA. My argument, first, I'm taking Anthony Edwards, if that wasn't obvious, because I'm not so much concerned about the actual ability on the court, but I think Anthony Edwards holds far more impactful intangibles than SGA has. Like I said, while Shai is the objectively best player, I think Anthony Edwards holds more in the X factor department. And one of the supporting arguments for Oklahoma City and why, they might win the finals is because how connected the teams are, how connected the teammates are, how they're supporting each other. It almost feels like a college roster in a sense. And when you're doing the post-game interviews and SGA is the one being interviewed, all his teammates are there. They're all like around him in post-games and stuff. And I imagine in the locker room, he also has a very like gravitating presence. But I don't think that is a rallying leadership presence. I think SGA is simply a cool, for lack of a better term, he's too cool. And when you're on the same team as the cool best player, you want to be around him and attached to him because you want to also be one of those cool players. I think guys are around Anthony Edwards and rally around Anthony Edwards because he has them believing in themselves, not simply just believing in him. Like if you shut down SGA, you take away his mid-range, you take away his free throw shooting, whatever the case may be, he doesn't have, let's say, like many other ways to truly attack you. Whereas Anthony Edwards, I think, with his trash talk, with how he can catalyst, how he can be a catalyst for guys on the court and on the bench, how he can get the fans going, especially when they're in Minnesota. He can change a lot of that energy and dynamic where I don't think Shai has that. And Steve, I'm curious to get your opinion on this analogy I'm about to share. I think SGA and Anthony Edwards is sort of like Steph versus Draymond. So Steph Curry, obviously the most important and best player on those finals runs because he's Steph Curry. But Draymond Green was the glue guy. Draymond Green was the engine in the Golden State Warriors. And I think you can make an argument if you're building a team, you can replace Steph with somebody else. But Draymond in his own skill set is something that cannot be replicated very easily. So I think you can find someone like Shai who's just simply an amazing player to be the number one option. But can you bring in the X factor, the extra stuff that Anthony Edwards has of being the catalyst, being a true vocal rally around me leader? I don't think that's easily as done. So if I were on a playoff team, I would rather have Anthony Edwards.
And Anthony Edwards on a team of young players like Oklahoma City, I don't know if he would have the same kind of impact that Shai has. I feel like he doesn't I don't know if I want to say he doesn't have the leadership that Shai has, but Shai almost leads through his play, not so much what he says, if that kind of makes sense. Mm-hmm. Like his ability to facilitate the offense, and it's more on court for him. So it really depends what kind of team you have. A team of veterans that need a rallying cry, and Edwards is perfect for you. A team of young budding stars who just need someone to lead the way. It's kind of like, do you like Hennessy or do you like Ciroc? It's really, you're kind of sitting at the same table, but it depends what you value in a player. So, it's a hard argument for me, man. I still got to say SGA.
I also think, and we talked about a while ago about the NBA ratings and how that has changed. And one of my main points was the way teams are constructed and the way basketball looks to me is changed. SGA is the epitome of new school basketball. Yeah. He is technically proficient. He is a great, all-around player, checks all the boxes. There couldn't be anything more you'd want from him at playing the sport. Anthony Edwards is the old school basketball where he's obviously still good, maybe not quite as efficient, but he's going to be in your face. He's going to be aggressive. He's going to be athletic. He's going to be high energy. Like that stuff that like I was saying, the old NBA, you don't see as much action, much high flying, as much glued to the screen watching the action. Oklahoma City is a lot of ball movement, a lot of passing, a lot of like quick defense to go on transitions. That's all great and efficient and really good basketball. But you can get it just as good with a little bit more the other way. So, like I said, I think since they're maybe like I said, not as close playing wise, like in terms of the league hierarchy, but in terms of what you're getting output wise, they are so close that I think, like I said, that extra X factor stuff is what gives Anthony Edwards just a slight edge. Listen to the sound. I listen to the sound.